Hey everybody, what's going on? The Montreal Canadiens are coming off of a 4-3 loss in overtime to the Minnesota Wild last night, but there's plenty to dive into in this video. Before we do that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's as easy as clicking the bottom right-hand corner of this video. The Montreal Canadiens are in a really interesting spot right now because entering last night's game against Minnesota, they were just 2 points out of a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference, which wasn't exactly something you'd have expected near the end of December with the expectations that we had going into this year. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing where they are in the standings because it's good that these young players are seeing competitive games. They're playing in games that are meaningful in December, which is something that they really haven't been able to do over their early tenure with the Montreal Canadiens. That's been a problem. You don't want to create an atmosphere like teams like Buffalo and San Jose have had where you're just constantly losing games over the last decade and really being a difficult team to play for. Because once you do that, you go into that loser mentality, and that's not something you want in the culture of your organization. But in saying that, it's kind of a little smoke and mirrors with what the Montreal Canadiens have been doing right now. Because you look at the goaltending, the Montreal Canadiens are getting exceptional goaltending from Samuel Montembeault, Jake Allen, and at times Caden Primo. And that's something that is really interesting to follow because it's kind of masking some of the warts of this hockey team. They don't really score at a high clip, but there are some positives still on offense because Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Uri Slafkovsky are all performing extremely well on a line together. If you look at their expected goals for as a line, they're creating amongst the best rate in the National Hockey League, right up there with some of the top lines. So I think that's something that you can keep an eye on for moving forward, especially after a game like last night where that top line was consistently creating offense. You saw Uri Slafkovsky have one of his best games as a pro, picked up a goal and an assist, and you can tell the points are going to start coming for Slafkovsky just because of how consistent he's been over the last 15 or so games. You're starting to notice that this player is someone that really has a ceiling as a future NHL star. There were a lot of question marks going into the year, and you don't want to get ahead of yourselves in terms of expectations for a certain player. But if you look at Slafkovsky now, would it really surprise anyone if he's a 70-point forward in his prime moving forward for the Montreal Canadiens? I don't think that would be a shock to say, and it's something that if you look at how he's been playing lately, you can definitely see that expectation being something that the Canadiens grow to have moving forward. But just talking about where the Habs are right now, I think it's important to kind of limit your expectations moving forward. You don't want to get too high and you don't want to get too low, but it's just a really positive thing that they're still playing in meaningful games around Christmas time. This team is going to go through a really difficult road trip right now. They've already started it, and they have another game and a back-to-back against Chicago tonight. This is a game that you really have to win because you look at the death row that's coming with teams like Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina, Dallas in the new year. That's going to be a really difficult test for the Montreal Canadiens, and you're going to have a much better idea of where they stand after that test. So I think that all you want to see right now is you want to see the young defense continue to grow offensively. I really liked what I've seen from Jaden Schwartz. He's been a really effective NHLer in his time with the Montreal Canadiens, and you continue to see growth in his game on a daily basis, which is very positive because personally I didn't necessarily have the highest expectations for Schwartz, but he's proved a lot of people wrong, and he's growing into someone that you can see definitely having a role, whether it's on the second pair or the third pair in Montreal moving forward. So I think there's just a lot of positives right now running through Montreal. They have to continue to be more than a one-line team, though they have to find more depth in their scoring. I think a lot of positives right now are stemming from this hockey club. There's some inconsistencies in their game because they aren't playing the full 60 minutes on a nightly basis, but that's something that you're going to see with a young team. So I think that there's more positives than not with the Montreal Canadiens right now. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below where you think the Montreal Canadiens are going with this regular season, and if you think that development is the most important part of this journey right now, specifically with the top line of Uri Slafkovsky, Cole Caulfield, and Nick Suzuki. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.